The day of the hearing came in January 2024. Outside the courthouse, the air was heavy, the sky gray. Reporters didn't know her name, only the initials inside. The courtroom smelled of paper and polished wood. McSkimming wasn't there. He didn't have to be. He was still working, still commanding respect, still carrying his badge. Meanwhile, she stood at the defendant's table, hands trembling as the clerk read the charges aloud, sending harmful digital communications with intent to cause distress. Each word sounded like an insult. She wanted to shout, "He caused the distress," but she stayed silent. She had learned what happened when she raised her voice. Her lawyer whispered, "Stay calm. Let it play out." But how do you stay calm when your truth has been turned into evidence against you? Around her, the officers who once called her colleague sat stone-faced. Some looked away. Others watched with cold detachment, protecting their uniforms instead of their conscience. The judge's voice blurred into background noise. She realized then that she wasn't fighting one man anymore. She was fighting a machine, a culture that believed rank equaled innocence. The law she had once served had been weaponized, its language twisted until victims looked like criminals. Her courage had become her crime. When the hearing ended, she walked out beneath the flash of cameras, her face hidden, her life unrecognizable. Behind her, in an office somewhere, the man she accused poured himself another cup of coffee, glanced at his reflection in the glass, and straightened his tie. He still had his title. He still had his badge. And she had the silence of a system that punished her for speaking. For years, her name had lived only in whispers, a cautionary tale within the corridors of New Zealand's police headquarters. Ms. Z had been forgotten by most, buried under office gossip and legal jargon. Her file sat in a gray cabinet, labeled resolved. But truth, like water, has a way of finding cracks. It began with a small team inside the Independent Police Conduct Authority, a group known for chasing the kind of cases everyone else preferred to forget. They weren't supposed to make noise. They were supposed to review procedure, tick boxes, and move on. But when they opened the file on the McSkimming case, silence stopped being an option. At first glance, the records looked routine. Complaints, responses, internal memos. Then came the emails, pages upon pages of them. Not threats, not harassment, but a timeline of a young woman's descent from trust to terror. The investigators read everything, every message Ms. Z had ever sent, every note taken by officers, every report signed and shelved. And slowly, a pattern emerged. One word repeated again and again in the margins: failing. The more they read, the worse it became. The police hadn't just ignored her, they had turned her pain into paperwork. Rather than protecting her, senior officers had used her own words to protect their own. When McSkimming's name first appeared in her complaints, the response from leadership wasn't investigation, it was containment. One superior even wrote in an internal memo, "The matter risks reputational damage. Manage carefully." The IPCA realized this wasn't a single error. It was a culture, a network of silence that stretched all the way up the chain of command. Over 6 months, investigators built what would become a 135-page report, a catalog of contradictions, lies, and moral decay. They interviewed former officers, read classified meeting notes, and followed every email trail until the pattern was undeniable. The police had chosen loyalty over justice. When the final report was printed, it wasn't just paper. It was an indictment of an entire institution. It said significant failings. It said unquestioning acceptance of Mr. McSkimming's narrative. It said actions contrary to the principles of integrity. Each phrase cut deeper than the one before. The IPCA's chair signed the document with a trembling hand. The moment his pen left the paper, the case stopped being a secret. When the story broke, New Zealand froze. Headlines splashed across every network. Top cop shielded by force, victim prosecuted. Internal bias exposed in police scandal. Talk radio callers shouted in disbelief. Online forums exploded with outrage. How could this happen in a country that prided itself on fairness? Within hours, the Minister of Police, Mark Mitchell, faced reporters outside Parliament. His words trembled between fury and disbelief. It's atrocious on every level. The integrity of our law enforcement has been compromised. He wasn't exaggerating. The report showed that even the former police commissioner, Andrew Coster, had attempted to influence the scope of the investigation and failed to disclose the affair when McSkimming was being considered for promotion. The institution that demanded transparency had been hiding behind frosted glass. And then, just when the outrage seemed unbearable, the real twist hit the man at the center of it all. Jevon McSkimming, who for years denied wrongdoing, suddenly appeared in a courtroom for an entirely different reason. He pleaded guilty to possessing child exploitation and bestiality material. The courtroom fell silent. Even seasoned journalists lowered their eyes. The hypocrisy was staggering. The same man the department had protected, the man painted as victim of digital harassment, was now exposed as someone harboring the darkest kind of criminal behavior. For a moment, the nation didn't know whether to be angry or sick. In homes, people argued over dinner tables. Parents wondered how many other victims had been ignored. Young officers questioned the badge they wore. Social media erupted. He ruined her life, and they protected him. This isn't just one cop. It's a system that eats its own. Inside Parliament, the mood was grave. Ministers demanded answers. Files were recalled. Names once untouchable began to appear in investigations. The police minister addressed the nation again, his voice heavy. This report highlights significant flaws in the decision-making and judgment of those in leadership. The actions of certain individuals have raised serious concerns about integrity and culture within the executive. For the first time in decades, the government acknowledged what no one had dared to say aloud, that New Zealand's police had failed not just one woman, but the public's trust itself. As the dust settled, the commissioner who replaced Coster, Richard Chambers, stepped before the cameras. His face looked tired, ashamed. He didn't defend his institution. He bowed his head. The actions and attitudes described in this report are inexcusable, he said. The ambitions of a senior police officer were put above the interests of a vulnerable woman. And somewhere far from the microphones, Ms. Z watched the broadcast in silence. Her face pale under the glow of the screen, her hands shaking, not from fear this time, but from disbelief that truth had finally spoken. Across the country, people began to ask, how do we fix this? How do you rebuild trust in a uniform that protected its predator? For the government, the answer came in the form of something never done before. A promise, a new position, an independent guardian to stand above the police hierarchy and watch the watchers. It would be called the Inspector General of Police, a role created to ensure that never again could power bury the truth or silence the vulnerable. The report had torn open a wound the country didn't know it had. It didn't erase the years Ms. C lost. It didn't undo the humiliation or the nights she cried alone. But it did something the system had failed to do from the start. It listened. For the first time, the nation understood that her emails weren't crimes. They were warnings. Warnings that, had they been heard earlier, might have saved everyone from the shame that now echoed through the highest offices of justice truth. long buried, had finally been unearthed. And in its blinding light, an entire system was forced to see itself, not as the protector of the people, but as the reason they no longer felt protected. Do you think silence served Miss Zai? Tell us what you think she should have done differently on the comment section, subscribe.